Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining my presentation. My name is Jennifer Collins, and I am Vice President of Research and Insights at Citi Retail Services. I'd like to talk a little bit today about the power of using comprehensive sets of data, including customer feedback and analytics, to build a holistic story with actionable, meaningful recommendations. So I'm going to focus today on what happened last March. Once the COVID-19 pandemic really hit the United States, we at Citi Retail Services knew that life had changed for our shoppers, though at the time, of course, we did not know how much and for how long. But we knew that we had to react fast, and we had to provide an update for our retail partners who were firing a plethora of questions to our teams. And that, combined with all of the questions from our internal stakeholders, really made our heads spin. And we knew that providing answers was going to be a lot more complicated than just a simple survey. Our goal was to address as many questions as possible with a holistic set of data and really try to provide some guidance on which consumer behaviors we saw as temporary and which we saw lasting beyond the pandemic. So we used a lot of different sources to be able to paint a holistic picture. We used primary data and secondary data. We paired that with our own internal data. There was no shortage of information and viewpoints. In fact, for a lot of people, there were just too many. We were drowning in data. We summarized all of our data and our secondary sources, and we distributed a weekly email to our teams so that, frankly, they could have some concise, condensed viewpoint of what consumers were thinking and what consumers were doing on a week-by-week basis. We were lucky to have, as a research and insights team, we had a little bit of sight into what multiple teams are working on and dealing with, and we used that to our advantage in this situation to really connect a lot of dots for people. So our secondary data sources indicated pretty quickly that some of our categories were impacted by the pandemic immediately and dramatically. So dining and travel transactions really nosedived in mid-March. Some of this was because customers were kind of hesitant to be in some of these places given everything that was going on. But some of this was because of the mandatory closures. And we were pretty confident that these categories were not going to be the first to recover. And that had implications for some of our credit card reward programs. At the same time, there were categories like groceries and home improvement that were seeing sharp increases. So all of this indicated that our need to react was pretty urgent. Internal data showed us that one size fits all is not going to be the solution here. So as of March 20th, COVID-19 was active in all 50 states, but 3 states, Washington, California, and New York, accounted for 57% of the confirmed cases and 60% of the deaths. So this was not hitting the United States equally across states. We needed to look at the data by geography on an ongoing basis. There were a lot of factors that were influencing how consumers were reacting to this pandemic and what the implications were for Citi Retail Services. We started to look at customer habits in the states that were open for business versus closed or severely limited. And in the past, we typically ask questions like when or how much do you plan to spend? But now the question was, do you plan to spend? Which was more realistic as many states forced closures and customers really didn't feel comfortable being in a crowded environment. We quickly realized that where our partners were open and in the states that they were allowed to be open, we needed to find what would make customers comfortable shopping in stores. And so we had never before asked, are you comfortable shopping in the store? This wasn't something that we had to consider, but now it was something that we really couldn't ignore. So after we did some exploratory research with our customers, we helped our partners prioritize which safety protocols were going to help customers feel a little bit safer and which ones they should prioritize in messaging. We also created a primary survey, and we fielded this starting in mid-March with the intention of it being an ongoing customer sentiment tracker. After the first few rounds of reporting, it gained so much traction that we realized we were going to need to keep this going continuously throughout the year. It really kept a pulse on how our customers were feeling about the pandemic and as it relates to health and safety and finances and how that translates into spend for our retail partners. So we ended up launching a few specific deep dives going off of this tracker to give our partners much more information on how they were feeling about topics like finance and shopping and being in stores. Clearly, we expected to see an increase in digital adoption given the hesitancy by a lot of our customers to go into stores, even when they were allowed to. But with our ongoing tracker, we were able to see that by November of 2020, 2/3 of our shoppers chose to do the majority of their shopping online rather than go into the store, which was a pretty dramatic increase relative to April. Many of our customers say this actually changed the way that they shop for non-essential goods on a permanent basis. So digital was more important than ever, and it wasn't going away anytime soon. Coinciding with a shift, we saw our customers make to online shopping. Our digital investment was prioritized for Citi Retail Services, and customer insights really helped to make this case. We were able to show customers weren't comfortable going into the stores. They were comfortable shopping online, and they intended to do this for the near term, if not the long term. So in previous years, Citi had explored contactless payments, and when the pandemic hit, contactless was everywhere. It was something that helped our shoppers feel safer and more comfortable. And we're talking about things like curbside pickup, mobile payments, contactless payments. We saw the demand for contactless really skyrocket in 2020, and that had implications for our retailers and as well as our credit cards as well. All of the indications from what we were hearing from our customers and what we were looking at from our internal data really showed us that this was not going to be a short-term shift. This was going to be something that consumers were looking for in the long term. We saw contactless everywhere in 2020. And as we introduced contactless credit cards and messaging on mobile payments, it was really important to keep a pulse on how our competitors were talking about this, how they were educating customers on contactless and what contactless was. And even in 2020, less than half of our customers were comfortable using a contactless card. So it was really up to us to understand what the drivers and the barriers of adoption were and how we can overcome some of those barriers in our messaging. Through all of this, we were able to uncover a major and immediate shift in what customers wanted and needed from their credit cards. Again, contactless was a huge driver. People felt like it was safer and more efficient. It helped them get in and out of the stores much quicker. And that was something that they were looking for. But there were security and there were technology concerns, and that did worry some, and that signaled to us, these are points that we need to address in our communication. And as COVID-19 persisted, consumers were really indicating that they wanted more things like cash back and higher rewards for shopping, less travel, obviously, less rewards for travel. They wanted discounts, they wanted points redemption opportunities, and they also expected relaxed redemption requirements. All of these things helped us strategize and develop programs for our customers that were very consumer-centric. And then came back to school. And the back to school time period is typically a very high time period, a very busy time period for Citi Retail Services. But back in 2020, the back to school time period just looked so different. And it took on so many different meanings for parents. A lot of children were remote or hybrid, and timetables kept shifting on when they were going back to school. Parents had no idea if they should be buying backpacks or if they should be buying laptops. And our consumer exploration work and secondary resources all indicated that consumers were just feeling very uncertain about what the right thing was to do if they even had a choice when it came to the school and back to school shopping time period. So it really indicated to us we needed to be careful in what and how we communicated during this time period and what offers we put into the market. We needed to be sensitive that there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of opinions around what the right thing was to do in this time period. Once we got through the back to school shopping, our ongoing secondary and ongoing tracking efforts were indicating that customers were really pulling back. They were continuing to pull back. We certainly saw this when the pandemic started. Discretionary spend was pulled back quite a bit, but it lasted even up until November. The majority of our shoppers were still being very cautious with their money, and this had huge implications for holiday spending, which again, of course, is a busy time period for our company. So it wasn't too much of a surprise when our holiday planning was forced to look a little different this year. We had to be sensitive about talking about credit cards when so many people had been impacted from a health perspective, from a financial perspective, and so many were facing very unusual holidays, void of a lot of traditions and void of seeing a lot of family members that they desperately wanted to connect to. And our research indicated that they really wanted to connect with these family members one way or another, even if that had to be virtual. We also found that, while our shoppers intended to spend about the same on holiday gifts, they were really wanting to stretch their dollars. And some of this was due to financial concerns. Some of this is wanting to be safe for the future. They also started their shopping a lot earlier, coinciding with Prime Day in October. And so all of this had implications for not only what we put into the market, but when we put our offers into the market and our communication. Continuing on this digital trend, most of our shoppers plan to shop online. So it was really critical to meet them where they were shopping. This year, especially during the holiday period, our shoppers were much more comfortable shopping online due to COVID and the ability to ship gifts directly to recipients. So if they were not going to see family or friends, they were able to at least ship them their gifts if they were able to purchase online. And so we knew this is where we needed to have the strongest presence, and this is where we needed to focus our credit messaging. We also found out that given their digital trend, most shoppers plan to shop online, and they wanted things like fast shipping, free return shipping. They were all more important this year as opposed to last year. And free return shipping was particularly important, again, because so many people were buying online and so many people were shipping directly to their gift recipients. Exclusive discounts, going back to what we talked about earlier, helping them stretch their dollars, was really important to our customers this year. And so we know we needed to make every opportunity when we had the ability to communicate this and to show our customers that we understood this holiday was a little bit different. We understood what was important to them, and this is how we were helping them make the most this holiday season. So I think if 2020 taught us anything, it's that looking at the data in a silo is not as productive as looking at the whole story. Had we only used our internal data or only used our customer survey data, we would have been missing a huge part of the story. And when we look back a year after the pandemic started, our team is pretty proud of how we pulled together very holistic, actionable recommendations that guided our partners to make very consumer-centric decisions in the face of real uncertainty. We know that it was a team effort, and that looking at the data in isolation would not have given us the confidence to make those recommendations. The pandemic reinforced to our organization the power of collaboration, the power of listening to customers' needs and reacting appropriately as the data indicates. An organization is better because of that. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I welcome any questions or feedback. Thank you.